You see the chat window now.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so the first thing I want us to kind of talk about is that article we read about the 16 habits of mind. I saw a few of you had already started on the Powering Up the Connected Teacher text that we're going to be using, and that is awesome. But I only had a few people respond to the survey, so I'm going to click over to the first session, the course introduction. Let's see if I can do this without losing it. And then at the bottom of that haiku page, there is a poll. So if you guys would take a minute and go into that and just go ahead and select which habit of mind you'd like to work on this school year. You should just be able to click on the ABCD, the multiple choice options there. You should be able to just click on one of those. And then once you do that, you should see your screen change to something like this. And I forgot to give my disclaimer. I am recording this session. However, if anybody tried to watch that last session, the audio is terrible on it. And unfortunately, this one's not going to be much better. You go on your screen, Ron. I'm going to refresh mine and see if those entries come in. All right, who would like to share with us which one you chose and give us some background on why or how you want to attack that this year? Rodney still can't vote. Rodney, you can just tell us about yours, and then you can vote when you get off of your machine from Jitsi. Will that work? Okay. Yeah. Hey, Kathy. Yeah. That was mine as well. I'm really bad to not think before I act. So that was something I wanted to work on as well. I am noticing that as well as I've been going around doing some maker spaces. They just are really quick to, you know, come up to you with I'm done with this assignment, now what do I need to do, kind of thing. Who wants to go next? Haley.
Sometimes sympathy as well. I'm just pretty much, that was between that one and flexible thinking because I just struggle with those things.
Right.
So that's what I chose.
Well, as we're working through the class, as you think about those, I mean, of course, outside of this, you can have multiple of these that you want to work on. But as you find things, be sure and bring those up. Strategies or articles you may have read that helped you look at it a little differently. Be sure and share those with us because I really do want to make a true effort at approaching this habit of mine and making a change for the better. I'm curious about the striving for accuracy.
That would have been me.
Yeah.
Busy.
Was that a yeah, I didn't know how to interpret that one actually.
Well, it was. I mean, the reason I did was I feel like I need to, because it was talking about doing higher expectations,
Mm-hmm.
and I do think that I do need to have higher expectations. So that was why I chose it.
Okay.
This is Brian. We still haven't voted, but the one I was focused on was thinking about your thinking. Just being a little more deliberate and intentional rather than pushing it. Why are you doing it?
Right. Yeah. That.
How can I put that and not wasting time.
Mm-hmm. That metacognition is a big one. That thinking about your thinking. Anyone else out there want to share what they put on?
This is Liz.
Hey, Liz.
Hi. I chose finding humor.
I love that one.
I think sometimes I get caught up in work and being too serious, and it's hard sometimes to find the humor and have a little laugh.
Yeah.
And especially being able to laugh at myself if I make mistakes or something just doesn't quite go right. Just being a little bit more I guess, kinder to myself and laughing it off.
Yeah, I think maybe I find too much humor, so that's kind of why I have to go back to that managing impulsivity. So,
But I like your laughter and your humor because it helps me. So don't lose it.
oh gosh. All right. Yeah, Rodney.
I was going to say the creating, imagining, and innovating. I think I learn better when things are creative and hands-on kinds of things. And I think a lot of kids do too, but I'm not always the best teacher in that regard.
And I agree with you on, as far as I learn best when I'm creating things. I learn more when I'm creating things, at least. I think it requires you to stop and think a little deeper about something and how to bring it to fruition that way. So, anyone else? If not, we'll go ahead and get back onto our session for today, which is the Overcoming Digital Intimidation. And we start off with this course content because I know there are so many digital tools out there that it can be overwhelming, and it can feel like you just can't even get started because there's just too much out there. So I know someone had remarked on the reflection, the discussion board already, this same sentiment. So what I want us to do is understand that you don't have to know everything about everything out there. That's why we have our groups, so that we can share with one another and find best practices, things that are working for our colleagues that maybe we can try, and have that person that's there to help you. You can collaborate with them if things worked or didn't work, and just be there for one another, because it can be scary when you're implementing a new tool with a class, and if you don't have that someone to help support you work through any issues that you may have. So on the right hand side, you'll see I've got a PLN video. This is PLN stands for Professional Learning Network or Personal Learning Network, and it's basically it's like where you compile all of your resources. That can be your colleagues and peers that you work with in your building. It can be someone you collaborate with at another school, in another state, in another country. You can build to your PLN by following social media. You can follow blogs or subscribe to newsletters. Somebody's audio's on. I'm just gonna mute it because I can hear myself. Okay, I think that's better now. I don't like to hear my voice. But the main content block area here has a couple of collaborative tools. And what I would like for you to do is, if you're working in a group, one of you click on the Padlet icon, and I want you all to log on to that Padlet and add your comments. So I'm going to click on the tab, what it should look like. Hang on. Oh my goodness, look at my hair. I look all disheveled today. So when you click on that Padlet, it should open up and look like this. These are responses from the last class that I did, and I started to put a clean Padlet up there, but I thought you guys might like to see the resources that they shared with one another. This little block right here gives you a brief explanation of how Padlet works. So if you're not familiar with it, when you click on the link, it should open up this page, and then you can just double click anywhere in the Padlet and add comments. So what have you used or are using with your students for presentations? So that's the question at the top of the Padlet. So take a few minutes and add your responses to that Padlet. And then if you have any questions or whatnot, you can add comments to any of these Padlet editions. And then take a minute to read what some of the other folks have added to it. Oh, yes, Brian and Rodney. Sorry, I just looked over at the chat window. I was busy scrolling around looking for your responses. Not you guys specifically, but you guys in the class. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, has everybody had a chance to post on the Padlet? Can you guys still hear me? You can just type a Y in the chat window if you do. Okay. How much background conversation can you hear? Just a yes or a no if you can hear or not hear. Okay, none. All right, good. So have most of you used Padlet before, or is this a new tool for you?
New for me, I haven't seen it.
Okay. Padlet is a really great tool for collaborating. So even among colleagues and peers, hang on just a second, guys. I don't have it ready this afternoon. I'll give it to you tomorrow. It'll be tomorrow after lunch. Will that be okay? Sorry. Okay, I'm back, guys. Padlet, good for collaboration. Oh, you can use it with your peers if you are, Liz, for example, if you needed to get some ideas from folks that you're working with at different schools, you could send a Padlet out there with a question and then they could just respond with a quick note on it, for example. Teachers use it in classrooms for students when they're working in groups or something like that to share ideas and thoughts with. Rodney's probably the same approach for you and Brian as well as far as collaborating with colleagues, because within Padlet you can share videos, links to websites, images. You can type text, as you know. You can just add a lot of different forms of media to it.
I know with the SOPs, we use a lot of the Google software platforms and create spreadsheets and things while talking to those and do a lot of collaboration.
Yeah, I think within the past year, I really have moved completely over to the Google products because it is so convenient and easy to share anything with other folks. So I've kind of moved away from using Pages or Word, Numbers, Keynote. Google has some good products out there and they're great, like I said, for collaboration. And you can access them from anywhere that you have an internet connection. So if something were to happen to a device you were using, if you've got files stored on the hard drive of that device, you may have to be concerned with whether or not those files are recoverable. So moving to online cloud-based services really is beneficial. Are third through fifth grade teachers using Padlet often in classes? They have been exposed to Padlet as a resource for the past couple of years, and I couldn't give you a percentage of how many are using it. I know that Padlet has changed their account access so that you are now limited to like 6 Padlets, I think, when you create a free account. But you can always delete a Padlet and start a fresh one if you needed to do more Padlets.
When I was teaching language arts, can you hear me?
Yep, I can.
When I was teaching language arts, we would use it like I created a Padlet for Blackbeard, and so it kind of the kids could go through it as a guided something with resources that I had. But we also used it as like a place to publish their writing. So they created poetry, and then they felt like it was published out there for they just felt like they had a sense of ownership because they could put it out there and see what each other wrote.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
That's a really great idea. Are there any other tools like Padlet that any of you are using that you'd like to share with the group? I know that there is Poplet, and I have a Poplet link on that haiku page, but I've either done something wrong with the sharing preferences. I had some issues with it not opening for folks last time. So, Poplet is kind of like a mind mapping tool, and there are tons of mind mapping tools out there also that are, for the most part, free, but there are others that are paid versions. So I'm going to switch back over to our session page. Okay. Rodney mentioned a minute ago about Google Docs. If you haven't tried Google Docs, I highly recommend you get in there and try it out. It's very user-friendly, fairly intuitive, and it's just super easy to share and collaborate. So, again, if you will, on your machine or your neighbor's machine, click on the Google Doc icon, which is this little guy right here. And that will be a fresh document, and I would like for you to answer the question on that document. If you have any trouble opening the Google Doc, just message me in the chat window there. So if your cursor is on top of someone else's text that they're typing, you can just click anywhere else in the document where there's free space and start typing your stuff. Tell you what, I see a couple of folks. Kathy, you're not stepping on everyone. Boy, you guys are working away. I'm loving it. I was going to say, Kathy Burleson, that purple's burning my eyes. All right. So let folks finish typing, and then what's the first thing that can be considered possibly a downfall with using Google Docs or Google Spreadsheets? What's the first thing you noticed when you got on the doc? Oh, y'all can talk to me now. I see Kathy typing though. Everyone.
For me, whenever everybody started on time, a little bit of getting my first 4 months.
Right. So this, if you're going to use this with your students, there definitely needs to be probably an introduction and give them some time to become familiar with how to. I don't know any other way to explain it, but maybe self-regulate, because it's going to initially cause students to bicker and argue over, hey, I was just there, or I was trying to type there, or that's the same font color I'm using, or So, you need to set some ground rules whenever you're using these online tools with your students so that they understand proper etiquette. This is also where you can plug in some digital citizenship there in how to work collaboratively with other people, because we may start off small in our classrooms, but then we may extend it to working collaboratively with another, for example, third grade class at another school in our district. Or we may have pen pals that we work with in another state or another country. So our students need to learn how to act online and in these environments, these online collaborative environments.
Another downfall we see is that people can change your work. So, like with students, if they met and changed something someone else had typed, those conversations you have with kids.
Yep. And that is, that ties into that piece of working collaboratively. So if you introduced this to your class, well, first of all, I highly recommend using it with your colleagues. It's a great way to communicate with one another and to get that instant feedback. So, and you don't have to be sitting with one another. You can all be at your schools in your classroom and be on a Google Doc and just have an informative PLC just by typing comments and questions on a Google Doc, or discussing, how you're aligning your curriculum, and work together within your PLCs to do that alignment as a group without, travel time or having to be at the same location, things like that. Are any of you out there using Google Docs with your students in a collaborative way? Is it something you would be interested in introducing to your students to use in a collaborative way?
How would you even go about getting students on?
For elementary, they are apps, so we could push the apps to the devices, but they would need to log in to Google, which is the same login they use for Haiku. And if you're in grades K through 2, then we would just explain that it's their lunch number at averyschools.net, and then the password is their lunch number.
Okay. So would you share, like if you created a Google Doc, would you share somehow that file on Haiku for them to click on like you just did for us?
Now, depending on what you want them to do, the recommendation I make is that as you introduce using these online cloud-based tools, that you start off with simple assignments where they're using just the Google Doc by itself. They're doing an individual assignment. And you just go ahead and set up the expectation that when you share a document with them, the first thing they need to do is make a copy. Because what you're going to want to do when you share the document, you're going to want to share it with view-only privileges. So they're not going to be able to edit it in any way and mess up your original template. But once they make a copy of it, then they can edit away. They can put text, pictures, whatever they need to on the document. So I would start off with just teaching them how to use Google Docs in that manner. And then once you move more to a collaborative phase, at that point they're creating their own documents and can share it with their peers that are in their group. Or you can create a document and just share that document with the students in that group. through a link. You could post a link on Haiku. You could create a QR code and have them scan that with their iPad, and it will open up the Google Doc. There are a variety of ways you can get access for them to a document. Did all of that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So, moving on along, because it's on, good grief, where did this class go? It's almost 4:30. Let's get on through this. There are some resources here below those three icons that you can look back at a little later on. Each one of those links will take you to a list of resources that are being used for, say, online collaboration. This will take you to a list of presentation resources, and the same thing for all of the others as well. This little piece on the right-hand side, this matrix, this is through the Florida Center for Instructional Technology, and it's an interactive matrix that you can kind of select where you feel you are in your digital instruction, and they give you tips, access to lesson plans, and how you can move to integrate more technology, more digital tools, and keep it balanced within the curriculum. And really, the technology use really needs to be transparent. I saw someone posted a remark, I think it was Rodney, I could be wrong though, on the discussion board about the technology as a tool, and that is so true. Just like he listed it, you know, if you needed to cut something, you would use a saw. If you needed to put a nail in a board, you would use a hammer. And that's what we want technology to be. Just another resource that we're going to use, another tool we're going to use. We don't want to develop lessons that incorporate tools just as that's one more thing I need to add to the lesson. So we want it to transition and meld into your instruction. This next little section here, this group meeting rooms, we're not, just ignore that section. That was if you were working in a group with someone that was off of your campus, so in another school, it's another Jitsi room that's set up for you to meet. You're welcome to use those down the road if you need to meet with someone else in your group or a colleague within this class. You can meet up in those group rooms. It's just another link for a different Jitsi session. You're welcome to use those though. Now, our assignment, which is not due for 2 weeks, everything you do in this course, I want it to be applicable and something that you can use. So if this specific assignment doesn't really fit into your curriculum, please edit it in a way so that it would fit. I was just kind of pulling these ideas out, and you can edit it however you need to. The main thing I'm looking for are the digital integration portions of it. So the next assignment that will be due in 2 weeks is to design a classroom activity that requires groups, or you can do individual assignments, to create a public service announcement. And they need to do it online. So I want you to, in your lesson, offer at least 3 digital options for students to choose from for submission of their product of learning. So, you know, they could create an audio recording, they could create a video recording, they could do posters, just give them a variety of ways that they could turn in an assignment and still convey the information that you're looking for.
Nancy,
Yes?
so if you do like groups, so let's say I have 3 groups doing a public service announcement, do I turn all 3 of those in?
No, and all I'm looking for, Lee, is a lesson plan. You don't have to implement this. I would like for you to create a lesson plan that you could possibly use down the road, because I want everything that you do within this course to be applicable to what you're doing. Does that
Okay,
make
you're not
sense?
supposed to- what if I did it? I mean, can I turn in the video?
Absolutely. I would love to see that.
Okay, because I'd rather do that than the lesson plan.
Absolutely. I would take that as well.
Okay,
With turning in videos to Haiku, I'm not sure like how much storage space there is. So, but we can get together and you can share that through Google Drive or something like that.
okay.
But absolutely, if you create a lesson and you implement it in your class and you would rather share with me, what your students did, that is fantastic. That is fantastic. So, but that's the next assignment. And, you can do a lesson plan, or you can, and I'm not looking for anything elaborate, guys. I don't care what your lesson plans, how you create them, if you do a really elaborate lesson plan or just scribble it out on a piece of paper and take a picture and send it to me. However you do your lesson plans, I'm just looking for the tools that you would ask them to use, and how you would accomplish that activity with your students. Okay? All right. Next thing is we are actually going to be starting the course text. So we had some folks that already jumped in on it and have started their reading and put some comments out there, and that is fantastic. So go ahead and get started between now and 2 weeks. Read the introduction and the first section, which is flipping the switch. And remember, this text is basically just blog posts from other teachers. So, they have failures and successes, and they are sharing them with us. And I hope that as you go through the text, it helps you to kind of not be afraid to step out there and try things. So. And then you just click on the discussion, the link here, just discuss, read, and reflect, flipping the switch link. You can click on that and it will open up the discussion board, and you can add a new discussion. And remember, you need to read and respond to at least one other person's discussion post. Are there any questions about the assignment or the text? Okay. You guys are awesome. I appreciate the fact that you are not intimidated to speak up and talk to me online. I really am loving that, because I don't like to just sit here and talk all the time. I got to get you to your input as well. Does anyone have any question about anything we talked about today or last week?
Nancy, when we do the reflections, I know that we have to respond to someone else's post.
Mm-hmm.
See those posts before, or not until after we posted our own reflection?
I think that you have to post your own reflection first, and then you can respond to others' posts.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And remember, those questions in that discussion content block, those are only guiding questions. They are not there for you to answer specifically. They're just kind of there to help get you into that reflective mode. So don't feel like you have to go through and answer each one of those questions. They're just there to help you get started and get the gears turning on what you just read. Are there any other questions out there? Now, as you're starting to think about these lesson plans or whatnot, if you're not in a classroom setting and have some other ideas on how you could maybe use a similar practice with what you do with students, just email me and let me know what you're thinking, and I'll help you any way I can. Okay, guys? All right. If there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and end class for today. If you think of a question, feel free to email me. That is perfectly fine. And as you start reading and working through this, if a question arises, shoot me an email. So if we're all, Rodney and Brian, have at it. Speak to me. Or did you accidentally press?
I'm trying to find the chat.
Oh.
Now I have a big orange box with a word in the chat.
Again? Oh no. Okay. Well, since you're out there, what's your question? Or did you have one?
I didn't have. I was just trying to. You're saying you were.
Okay. Oh. Okay. It's okay. It's okay. All right. We'll go ahead and wrap it up then. You guys have a great afternoon. If you
I
need
have a
me.
very important question.
Yes.
How do you get an avatar?
You can edit your avatar, but let me see here.
All the guys seem to have one, but we don't have one.
Right. I noticed there were a number of folks that were just a solid color. So let's see here. Is that what it was? I understand completely. I know I look completely disheveled here. It has to be those 3 dots there on the right hand side, maybe. No.
It's really not that important of a question. I'll play around with it and see if I can figure it. Thank you.
I think if you, play around with it and then let me know what you find out, okay?
All right, will do.
All right, guys, y'all have a good afternoon, and I'll see you in 2 weeks.